Here is the painting before I frame it. I think it looks beautiful like this. Let's look at how to paint some waves in watercolor efficiently. Because watercolor is an efficient medium. Here I'm starting with the sky. I've already sketched out the painting. And I start with the cerulean blue. And I'm already thinking how I would layer the colors while I paint this. First, outlining the shadows with outlining the clouds with my brush, and I'm using a lot of water in my brush. I'm using a mop brush for this. If you notice, there is a bead at the bottom of the wetted area. That's because I've placed my paper or my watercolor pad on a slanting surface, and then I can comfortably paint without worrying about inconsistent colors, because the water in the watercolor would try to wash down and tries to spread the colors evenly. So I'm speeding up the parts in this painting which I think are not that critical. I'm going in for a layer of warm ultramarine blue on top, because the sky is usually warmer on top. So I'm going for a layer, and thankfully the water has not dried completely. I was paying attention to that, so that the ultramarine blue just blends into the cerulean blue and you get this gradient in the color. I'm using a tissue paper here to lift off some of the paint to create some clouds, because I thought the sky needed a little bit of balance. And when I lift it off with a paper towel or a tissue paper, you get this smeared edges of the clouds. So not all clouds are sharp, and some clouds have a smeared edge. Not all colors are good for this. You need to have a bit of granulating color. Only then will you be able to completely lift off the paint. Otherwise it could still be stained. I mean, you can look for what colors are staining and what colors are not staining when you buy the colors. Granulating colors are usually not staining, and staining colors are usually non-granulating. Most labels will tell you which colors are the staining colors. And I'm here going to build some shadows into the clouds. For this, I'm wetting the clouds already, so that when I apply the darker, warmer colors there, the color would spread out and create these beautiful shadows. So here I am coming in with the warmer tint of blue. I've added a little bit of earthy color, like a burnt sienna, I think. And then I'm also adding an ultramarine blue, making it a little more warm. Yeah, as I paint, it looks a bit darker. It looks a bit dark than it's supposed to be, but watercolor has this quality of appearing bright when applied, and as the water dries, the color will go down in its value. So it will come down to the right value. Although I would have liked this to be a little more lighter when I think about it again. Now I'm going in for the sea, and I'm again taking a pure cerulean blue here, so that there is some difference between the water and the sky, reducing the warmth. And I'm carefully leaving the space for the boat, as well as the waves and the froth that comes out from behind the boat. So I'm leaving both the boat and the waves here. There are a few structures that are strutting out from the water, and I'm also leaving space for later coming in and adding some highlights there. And this is just a regular wash. After I finish the wash, I'm going to leave a few streaks into the water, and these streaks will help in creating a sort of a glow later on when I draw the shadows on the water. I'm also pushing in a little bit of this blue into the shadow of the boat so that there is some harmony between the boat and the water. Here I am going in with a much warmer, darker color. I've added a bit of yellow into this water so that there's a slight greenish tint for the shadow. And I'm carefully first finding the outlines of these waves. And I'm careful not to keep the brush too wet. The water is still damp, and I'm going in with a slightly dry brush with thick pigment. And I'm going in and drawing these waves. I'm first drawing the outlines, and then I'm going in to smudge the edges. Here I am filling in the shadow shape, and I will later smudge the edges so that it's full. The shadow shapes are full. And note that as I go towards the boat, the length of each of the waves should become shorter. That is very important when you draw waves or any repeating shapes far into the horizon. So if you see at the bottom, there are about 3 or 4 waves, and as I go closer to the boat, there are about 6 or 7 waves now. And then you will see that as I go closer to the boat, I will make much shorter shapes, and that will give you the illusion of the boat being far away. And this size reduction is more important than how well you paint the waves, in my opinion. One could actually go in and make these waves way more detailed and more smudged, etc. But I wanted to leave it a little more loose because the idea is to paint these waves efficiently, not get lost into the details of them. Now I'm going in and smudging those edges so that they do look like waves. I'm using a bit of dry brush here, a very, very dry brush to draw some streaks because the waves are very far away now. And the blue is subdued by the presence of these waves. The waves are really small. The beauty of watercolor is that you can make quite a bit of mistakes in the lighter layers. And as soon as you come in and bring in the sharp shapes into the painting, which are of the darker colors, like this shadow region in the boat, which is going to be a point where your attention is going to focus. And as long as I take care of that shape, all the other mistakes in the lighter layers will sort of dissolve, and your painting comes alive. And sometimes those mistakes have meaning as well. There are 2 window shapes there on the boat. I'm also putting some black dots there, dark colored dots there, just to indicate maybe people or some objects on the boat. And here I am going on the underside of it to create a shadow. Now if you see that the blue that I pushed into the boat is actually helping with the shadow. It is blending with the background and it looks realistic. If I went in with another dark color, let's say a brown or something, it would have looked like the boat is like standing out. Now I'm also carefully going into the white of the waves and mildly pushing a bit of shadows into those. And I'm also smudging some areas in the wave so that I get some spray out of it. And then far away I had left a horizon, and I'm just going in there and adding some distant trees and buildings and whatnot. And these are places where you could add some complementary colors. So I'm adding a touch of red and some warm colors into the faraway horizon scenarios. And there it is for you. I hope you enjoyed it.